Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings everyone and welcome to today Weekdays English Talk or usually called WEG. We are going to be the host of these live streams. I'm Nurdiana from 9th grade and I'm here with Afifa Quisha from 8th grade. And we're excited to be your host for this Weekdays English Talk. First, I would like to start off by expressing our heartfelt thanks to all of you for taking the time to join us today. Your participation is greatly appreciated, and we are so glad that you could be here with us today. We understand that your time is valuable and we are grateful that you have chosen to spend it with us. We promise that to make it worth your while by providing us valuable insight and sharing informative knowledge the course of this webinar. And after a long time, we're finally holding back weekdays English talk. Yay. So, today we have a special guest that ready to share her knowledge and experience with you all. So, make sure to stay connected and active in the comments as we'll be answering some of your questions later. Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you. We hope that you find this webinar both engaging and informative. Together, we are going to talk about a glimpse of Indonesian students' life in the United Arab Emirates with our special speaker, Kak Soffia Masturi, as an alumni from AL-QOSIMIA, Sharjah University. Before we start, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, and also turn on the notification so you don't miss our content. So, without any further ado, let's call our speaker. Please welcome Kak Soffia Masturi. The time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for having me here. It's very nice to meet you on this occasion. Can you hear my voice right now?
Can.
Okay.
We hear it.
Okay, so I don't know. I guess I should say that I'm honored to be on this show with you. You both seem amazing, and how do I say it? It's very nice to see you both. So, should we have some discussion, or should I present my story?
Yes. You can present.
Oh, okay. Or should I introduce myself first?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Right. So I guess I'm actually a fresh graduate from Al-QOSIMIA University in UAE, and it's been 2 months since I graduated from university, and I'm still adapting to the new a new life phase, I guess, and yeah, and I'm so pleased that I can talk to you guys about this subject, and I hope that you can benefit from whatever we're going to discuss in this talk, I guess. Okay, so should I just start at once? Hello? Right. So I guess I'm just going to start, and if you guys have any questions, you can just ask. I'm going to give just a tiny bit of a glimpse of my life as a student in the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and I've studied there for about 4.5 years. I spent about 6 months studying Arabic, and then 4 whole years to get my bachelor's degree. I took I majored in Sharia and Islamic studies in the UAE, and okay, I guess I'm just going to start off with questions that most people usually ask. What inspired you? Hello? Okay, what inspired you to study abroad? There are many reasons that made me decide that I want to study overseas and like travel. But I can sum it up into three main reasons. First is the tradition of our Muslim forefathers. As we know, like if we read the Islamic history, we see how people how our scholars used to travel far and wide, just to seek knowledge and then to spread the Islamic knowledge, which is one of the reasons why Islam has spread across the world from east to west. And so it's actually a very old tradition that is, uh, I guess, something that is quite normal for a student of knowledge to to practice. Traveling to different lands and seeking knowledge from different teachers and getting to know different cultures. And then the second reason, I guess it could be like my parents' upbringing. Um, my my parents has always encouraged me to broaden my horizons and, I guess, prepare myself. It's part of their education to prepare myself to survive in uh, different cultures and different uh, social situations, because uh, it's also part, I guess it's also part of their dream for me to be able to study, um, to study as far as I can, I guess. And the last reason that made me want to study abroad is because my education environment. I used to go to pesantren or Islamic boarding school during my high school, and my teachers were, most of them were graduates from Al Azhar University, and how they carry themselves and their wisdom, it was so inspiring that it there was no other way for me except for following their footsteps to study abroad. um, that is, I guess, that is the three main reasons why I decided to leave my homeland and go to other places to seek knowledge. And I guess the next question would be, what made me choose the UAE as my destination? I didn't particularly choose like this country because of my personal preference. It's actually the qadr of Allah. I got the chance to study in the UAE. There were many that is related to ulum shar'i, be it Islamic studies, be it tafsir, or even ulum hadith. And but by the grace of Allah, alhamdulillah, I had the chance to study in the UAE through just some random information that I came across on the internet. And I didn't even know that it was possible for me before to study in the UAE, but I'm still grateful for that. Um, and one of the reasons why I was also uh, happy that I got the chance to study there when I came across that information was because I know that UAE is located in the Hijaz. Um, it's in the Middle East, but particularly it's in the Hijaz, so it's very close to, for example, Saudi Arabia, and it's an Arab nation, so they're going to speak Arabic. And considering that I wanted to major in Islamic studies, it was very important for me to choose a country that uses Arabic as its first language, and so that's what made me choose the UAE. Um, my expectations, people usually ask like, what did you expect when you arrived in the UAE? Uh, like, did you imagine that you would go through the social dynamics and the life of people in the UAE? Um, like any other normal person, of course, even though I tried not to have any expectation, but apparently I did have a lot of expectations that also, of course, added to the dynamic of my life as a student. I was um, I was, of course, influenced by what the media portrays about Dubai. And of course, we all know that there is a Burj Khalifa in Dubai, which is one of the highest tower in the world, one of the tallest buildings, I guess, one of the tallest buildings in the world. And so, it's kind of far fetched for me to imagine uh, myself in a place where I want to study, but at the same time, there's just a lot of glamours and luxury. But uh, so I didn't know how to face that at first, but then I thought like, well, let's just see what happens. And then I also expected, even though I'm going to Dubai and the UAE, which is known for a business hub and also a place for tourism in the Middle East, but I also there's a part of me that expected a simple student life, in the UAE, because that's what students are known for. They're known for a simple living so that they can focus, just mainly focus on studies and not, things that distracts them from their studies. Uh, so I was like torn between the first expectation and the second. And also, of course, as I've told you before, I went to pesantren, and I've heard stories from my teachers about how life usually is as a student. They have to strive uh, for living, and then they need to uh, like strive to get food on the table, but still at the same time they have to focus on their studies because they have a lot of assignments. So I guess I had those expectations when I arrived, and turns out that expectations were not as bad as I thought. In fact, like, I am really thankful that I had the chance to study in AL-QOSIMIA University, because it provided me with a very comfortable environment where I can focus on learning. At the same time, I was also I studied in Sharjah. It was the location of our university, and um, it's despite its of course comfortable living, but the people there are humble. They're humble and they're simple, and they also uh, you know they still uh, makes they still make effort to guard their heritage and also their core values as um, as values from their forefathers, which is simple living and not living in extravagance, and also uh, I guess staying true to themselves. And so it gave me a wider perspective on the people of UAE, the natives of the UAE, and uh, like it made me respect them all the more. And I can say that they're very balanced between their vision for the future, but at the same time they're still holding on to their traditional values, be it uh, family values or uh, how they interact within their community and all the other stuff. And at the same time, it also made me be aware that as a student, uh, whether it's uh, like whether it's distractions that because of our for example our lack of attention towards our studies, or whether it's external forces that distracts us from our main goals. For example, like surviving in order to bring food to the table and all that. A student should be able to focus on their studies, and that's one of the things that being in the UAE has taught me, which is I think it's a very valuable lesson. And how are the days like as a student in the UAE? I I took quite a bit of time to adapt to the new environment, because I told you, like, because I had expectations. And one of the other expectations that I had was, uh, being able to, how do I say it? You know, be drowned in a lot of activities as a student. That was my expectations, whether it's seminars or conferences or assignments. And the reality is, there were assignments from our professors, but uh, I found out that uh, all of the activities that I expected I would be facing, it all depends on ourselves whether we want to make ourselves busy as a student, or whether we want to avoid all the activities at all. It uh, so we have to force ourselves to make ourselves busy. And I had to adapt to the new environment, and I had to make an effort to look for activities that will develop uh, my personality as a student. And then I guess that's one of the phases that I had to face. And then there was also getting to know the life dynamics as a student. Uh, though I've heard stories from other people how their life was as a student, it turns out that everyone has their own stories, and everyone has their own dynamics, depends on their situation. And my situation was, I was um, uh, of course, being in this digital age, you realize that it's easy for you to get busy within your own world and drown yourself in a virtual world. And also, uh, like, you don't have to face the boredom of not knowing what to do, so that you're forced to communicate with others. I found that one of the biggest obstacles for an international student is to make an effort to know other people, because turns out that if you don't make an effort, even though you go overseas or abroad, you it's possible for you not to know anyone, or just get even more introverted as you pass your time, because you can you can always escape with your phone. um, and I guess I had to get used to the life dynamics, and then living with people from different cultures and backgrounds. uh, there was how do I say it? uh, of course, we know that different cultures brings uh, sometimes causes conflict between people. And during my life, my time in the university, we had to stay in dorms where we share rooms with, like, maybe 4 or 5 different students from Europe, from Africa, uh, from East Asia, and we all had different cultures. We have different preferences, and there was also a language barrier between us, where we need to use we all need to use our second language to communicate. And our levels of understanding to that our levels of understanding towards that language is, of course, different. So it's very easy to cause misunderstandings. And now that I think back about it, it was really enjoyable. But at that time, I guess it also created some discomfort during my life as a student. But it also helped me grow to become a better person. And I guess uh, the last thing that I learned as a student in the UAE is that I learned how to manage my personal finance, because for the first time in my life, Alhamdulillah, I was awarded a scholarship to the UAE. So for the first time in my life, I had my own money where I didn't need to report to my parents, for example, uh, what uh, uh, what do I need, uh, and of course, like if there's something, uh, some how do I some emergency necessities, I had to call them. For the first time in my life, I had money on my own, and then I was like, it's very easy to, you know, get distracted and surprised when you're in a new situation. And I guess I felt that when I had uh and when I was given the chance to have money for the first time, uh I had kind of a bit of a trouble uh knowing how to allocate where my finances and make a budget. But it really gave me a chance to learn more about personal finance. And there's also, of course, academic pressures and cultural differences, especially when you go to uh, other when you go overseas or abroad to study in a university. You're going to have academic pressures, and also in your social life in the university, you're also going to face cultural differences. For example, uh, uh, you had to use a second language to be able to communicate in matters that concerns, uh, like scientific matters. And like in the first place, it's quite hard for you to uh, speak using your second language in a normal life. But now you need to go beyond that and speak in a scientific setting using that second language that you're not accustomed to your whole life, and you just studied that for a short while. It takes time to get used to. And so we had to explore different studying methods. uh, we have to work we have to make double the effort than native speakers, because and also we also need to look for other methods to study, because that's not what we're used to in our homeland, where we use our own language. And then there's also accepting the reality of being a foreigner or a non-native speaker, because you realize that whenever you want to communicate in order to inquire about something that you didn't understand, or to discuss a subject, you're forced to make extra effort in order for others to understand what you're saying, and also uh, to really get the idea of what others are trying to communicate with you. And it takes time getting used to, about like probably a semester or 1 year trying to accept this reality of a language barrier in academic setting. And the third is understanding our relationship with different languages, how how our brain is wired to understand languages differently. For example, in your uh, mother language, you would usually use your mother language for your daily activity and for daily communications. But then uh, some of us are required to use your second language in a scientific setting. So when you suddenly use that second language in a normal day-to-day life, you would um, you would find that it's not as easy for you, even though for example, you've mastered the second language. And of course, there's language barriers, and then there are different cultures. Uh, as a student, you have expectations. Being a student in your homeland, we have a set of rules and ethics uh, that are required for you to follow as a student. But then when you move to other countries, you realize that uh, they they um, they follow other set of ethics that sometimes might be um, that contradicts your your first ethics as a student, I guess you can say that. And so, like, those are my personal experiences facing academic pressures and cultural differences. And uh, and so, to summarize all that, being a student overseas or going abroad to study in a university, it's, of course, it's hard and it has its challenges. It's never going to be easy, but we have to overcome all those social and language barriers, be it in your daily life, in the life among your friends, or even in the university. Uh, but So I guess it made me realize how deep the meaning of Surah Al-Hujurat, uh, that, you know, when Allah says, "O mankind, we have created you from a male and a female, and made you into nations and tribes, that you may know one another. Verily, the most honorable of you with Allah is that believer who has taqwa. Allah is all knowing and all aware." So, of course, there is going to be challenges, but uh, facing that challenge brings you closer to knowing other cultures. It's knowing, of course, knowing how, mashallah, Allah has created a lot of, uh, has created this world into and divided into many nations, and they have their own set of background, their own perspective on the world. And I guess uh, after being able to after being able to come across those uh, differences, you will realize that you have to be humble, and it challenges all the beliefs that you know beforehand. And so, um, I guess it's necessary for you to be able to grow as a person, to expose yourself to these challenges. Um, and of course, we also, in order to overcome these social and language barriers, is we also have to remember that in order to be a lifelong learner, we have to be ready to be wrong, and, you know, being accepting the challenge that we face, because otherwise there's no other way to learn. If you, for example, run away from the challenges, or if you try to avoid the challenges, you will just be stuck in one place. And of course, the uh, third uh, third issue or thing that you have to remember is that you have to accept your flaws and always stay optimistic. So even though, for example, you crash during your um, uh, you face an obstacle, and then you crash, and then you end up uh, making, making trouble for yourself or others. Well, just accept it, but then move on quickly and stay optimistic. It's a good thing that you have face that challenge, because then you know where you are lacking, and then you will try uh, to fix yourself. And then, because knowing where you are lacking, it's halfway to to a solution. That's what I tell myself all the time when I face the social and language barriers. Um, and I guess if you ask me, have my perspective evolved during my time as a student? Uh, of course, it has, and it also made me. Uh, and it also made me realize how noble our Sahaba were, how great they were, their personalities, because just with the teachings of Rasulullah for about 30 years, they realized that uh, they need to spread the message of Islam uh, to others, and then they didn't stay in their comfort zone and just stay in Medina. No, they went to a lot of cities that probably took a long time to travel, especially in those days. It will probably take months or weeks to travel from one place to the other. But we see how Islam has spread far and wide during their time, and so my experiences as a student made me appreciate them all the more. It made me appreciate the Sirah and all their all their struggles, uh, and how um, how when we face challenges of being an international student, we realize how far Islamic civilization has reached when they are able to to embrace all different cultures, from Persian culture to European culture when they spread to Spain, and how they also embraced the African culture, and of course the Southeast Asian that most people even right now has not even heard of. They're able to take the best out of each culture and still at the same time unified them in just the basic values of Islam, while still maintaining their differences. And so it made me appreciate this uh, civilization all the more. And also, it also taught me how a Muslim's worldview should be. They should have a global worldview, as in they should realize that. Um, uh, how do I say it? They should realize that they should embrace other people, even though they're from different backgrounds, and how Allah has created all these differences in order for us to learn from one another. And yeah, it taught me a lot, and so it influenced my personal growth and aspirations. um, I guess yes, of course, even though right now I haven't I haven't realized in what matter in particular, but it made me respect other people more, and it made me appreciate differences whenever I go to different places, and even different cultures that I meet in my own country. Because as we know, our country has a lot of different cultures that we're not used to. While the reality is, sometimes, uh, yeah, like our gadgets and our our introvertedness has caused us to be more and more individualistic and more uh, ignorant towards other people. And so, of course, my time as a student has helped me greatly in, I guess, making me into a better person. Um, and what about the country itself, the UAE and its surroundings? Um, One of the things that I didn't know about the UAE was how diverse it was. It's it's a place where many different cultures come together and you get to meet different languages, uh, different festivals, I guess, because uh, despite being an Arab nation, they try to respect other people's culture. So sometimes you get to see how uh, Indians, for example, also celebrate their festivals in the UAE, and the Arabs, of course. And then there were also a lot of Southeast Asians, especially Philippines. So you get to come across different cultures. And also, I realized how if we want to uh, simplify the communities in the UAE, we can call them, we can say that they have the natives, which consist of just 25% of people in from out of the whole population, and while the rest, or the 75%, are the expats. So uh, it's a new experience for me because uh, usually when you go to other places, you will find the natives are the majority, but this is the opposite. And so you can also see how different cultures assimilate with one another and how they speak many different languages. I see how Arab influences English, and how, for example, Urdu influences Arabic, and it's quite an interesting experience. Um, and you get to see the diversity of the people, so you can easily meet people who speak five different languages, uh, or at least three different languages at the same time. For example, I once uh, met a woman who has a Southeast Asian face, but I guess, she talked in, she was speaking in, I think it was uh, Urdu, or uh, it was not Tagalog, So it puzzled me for quite a while, and even until now, if I try to remember what it was, I really didn't know the answer to that. So, yeah. Uh, what other aspects during your time as a student impacted you? Um, I've come to consider that my time in the UAE, it's part of my life journey, and I will always look back and like, to review everything that I have learned during my time. Um, and of course, it has also uh, made me love Indonesia all the more, because it made me appreciate all its beauty. Of course, each culture and each country has its flaws, but it made me appreciate what I took for granted before I went and studied abroad. And of course, I've come to learn that wherever you end up in, it's a blessing for Allah, and it's a chance for you to take the wisdom and be optimistic and take the positive side in whatever qadr you are given. And I guess those are three main lessons uh, that I have gained from the overall experience during my time in those 4 years. And my advice, I guess I don't really have much advice, but uh, I guess I could just summarize it into five five main advice, which is like, traveling is part of your lifelong journey. So whenever you make travel plans, don't just seek the comfort, don't just seek the you know the beauty that you can share with others through photos or through social media, but try to understand the different cultures that you will come across, because traveling is more than just uh, being able to add to your list of destinations, but um, it is also, how do I say it? Um, it's also challenging yourself to be able to face different things. Um, and then the second is that Allah has created this earth for you to walk upon, and He has also provided you the ability to explore. So don't just, again, don't just look for the beauty that the eye can see, but also look deeper and uh, and try to find meaning and try to find the beauty in whatever Allah has created, whether you are traveling to uh, uh, whether you are traveling to see the wonders of nature or to meet other cultures or in order to study. Just remember that all everything that you see, Allah has created it for you to take the best out of them, and to appreciate them. And the third is always stay humble, but always be grateful. So you don't use your experience as a tool to, for example, to feel superior among other people, but always be grateful that you were given a chance to appreciate other people more and to have higher respect for each and every one of the people that you meet. The fourth is that don't let the materialistic nature take over you, especially when, for example, you're choosing a new destination for you to travel in order for example, you want to study somewhere or you want to just heal yourself from the daily life. Don't just choose, uh, for example, destinations that would look good in your portfolio or that would look good in your social media account, but you know, try to appreciate everything, including the uh, including the culture differences that you see now, because otherwise you would not get the full. Uh, you would not if you're not you would lose a lot when you just prioritize your for example, the materialistic nature when choosing your next destination. And the last is that you should believe that whatever you do, it only has one objective. It's not for you to, be seen and respected more by other people, or to increase your uh, resume, but it's more about whatever you do and wherever you go, it only has one objective, which is to make you a better person so that you can praise Allah more than you ever did before. Um, I guess that's all I can share, I guess. But if you have any other questions, I'm very glad. I'll be very pleased to answer whatever it is, and I'll make an effort to answer. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Kak Sophia, for sharing your knowledge and experience. And now let's move on to the Q&A session. And for those who have questions, you can leave it in the live chat. Me. Okay, so the first question is from Kak Namira Wanda. How do you deal with the different learning methods?
How do I deal with different learning methods? Um, of course, there are many different methods, but usually when people study in a different language, um, they would try to memorize what they're studying. doesn't have to be Arabic. Like I used to study in Arabic. It doesn't have to be Arabic, but it's also um, in Germany, for example, or if English is your second language. In English, most people would try to memorize, but and I've tried that method, but I simply can't. Uh, so I try to find some way that I can actually understand the lesson, but at the same time, uh, do well, of course, in my exams. So, for example, uh, I tried the summarizing method. I tried the mind mapping method. I tried the, for example, reading many books that are related to what I'm reading so that I can get a more wider understanding of the topic that I'm studying. Um, it took a while, and I guess you can say it took a few years, uh, at least 2 semesters. And yeah, that's how I dealt with different learning methods. Oh yeah, and I also tried learning with different people. For example, like studying together in a group, which I realized uh, it has its barakah. Like when you try to learn with other people, um, even though it takes more time because you need double the time that you would usually learn if you study on your own. But at the same time, you realize that somehow there is ease in studying in a group together. Um, yeah, I guess that's what I found out when I tried to explore the different learning methods.
Okay. Thank you, Kak Sophia, for your answer. So, and for the next question, it's from Kak Galatea. What is your most shock culture that you can learn for, or life lesson that you get from that shock culture?
Uh, Culture shock. One of the moments that I still remember is the interactions between uh, people from different nations. For example, I had a friend who was from Africa, and and I guess it was for the first time I met someone from Africa. And one day, like, she tried to ask for my help, and she called me in a way that you would call a waitress. She would just how do I say it? She would raise her hand, and uh, she didn't even know my name, and she ordered me to do something for her. I was really shocked at that time because I felt I was disrespected. And then I told her, why are you disrespecting me in this way? You're asking for my help, but you're doing it in a way as if you're ordering me. As if you're ordering me. And she didn't realize that she was doing that. And it turns out that she did that to every person. And it was quite normal for her in her culture. So yeah, social interactions has a lot of for me. And the other thing that I need to get used to was the language barrier. For the first time, I felt I was uh, helpless because I was unable to communicate to others uh, in in a way that they would understand. Of course, and it frustrated me to no end. But I got used to it, and I accepted that as part of as part of a risk of if you're going to study abroad, you would face those language barriers and miscommunications that would appear. Yes, that's my answer. I hope it helped.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Ans- Thank you, Kak Sophia, for answering some of question.
Mhm.
And also thank you so much, everyone, uh, for joining us today for this insightful and engaging webinar. It has been absolute pleasure to guide you through our exploration of a glimpse of Indonesian students' life in the United Arab Emirates. Your presence and participation have truly made this event success, and we're grateful for your time and attention. Thank you for watching our live stream until the end of the event. I'm Nurdiana, and I'm Afifa Quisha. Permission to say goodbye to you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thanks guys.
Yeah.